Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's 10 a.m. on the West Coast, 1 p.m. on the East Coast, and late afternoon, early evening in Europe and beyond. So thanks for joining us for the weekly webinar. It's Harry Brailsford at SMB Nation. We're talking about the 5 keys to navigating your way to choosing the right business communication system. And we're going to do it in the context of making smart communications decisions. And I'll introduce Chap in just a moment. A little bit of housekeeping. Stay tuned. Our next scheduled webinar is 2 weeks out, so we'll be in communication about that. We do have the holidays coming up, so we know as well as you know that we typically take that last week off of the year from the webinar cycle to respect your vacation time and holiday time. Keep your eyes open for some tour announcements starting in late January, just like last year as it were. And then, as always, keep an eye peeled to smbnation.com as well as 365nation.com and telephonation.com, where we're keeping a busy eye on the industry. Oh, and one final thing is the weekly newsletter is now a Sunday paper, so we're getting great reviews on that. Everybody loves a Sunday paper. It's in your inbox on Sunday morning for you to read what's gone on in the last week in the industry. So with that said, I know we have a busy session. I'm going to bring in Chap Nolan from Mitel. Sir, where are you? And let's get going. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks very much, Harry. I'm actually located at our corporate headquarters in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. I spend a good deal of my time around the globe with the business, primarily now in the Americas market, but spend a lot of time all over the place. So I think what I'll get started on, a little very quick background for you so you have an understanding of maybe why I'm sitting here having a conversation with you today about SMB business and helping you with some tool sets to make some smart decisions. I've been 20 years with Mitel. I've had various roles from an operational standpoint, marketing standpoint. I've been a general manager of our Canadian business for several years. The roles that I've moved in now is more on the strategy side of our business, so the development of our channel partners, our go-to-market strategies, how we position our products in the market, and then as well in the other related duties, I get involved in our mergers and acquisitions, which have been following Mitel or did a little research on Mitel over the past couple of years. So we've been quite busy in working to consolidate the unified communications market versus being consolidated in the market. Mitel is a 40-plus-year-old business, so a lot of history. When our feet hit the floor in the morning, as we like to say it to our teams, we are focused on the SMB marketplace. That is where we develop our products and solutions. That is where we have our pedigree as a manufacturer of first digital technology, analog technology. We've gone along the paradigm shift to now becoming a unified communications company. 90+% of the people inside of our business on the engineering side are software engineers. And we're really focused now and positioned as a cloud contact center and mobility company that takes those assets and helps customers run their business and organizations to make sure they're effective for customers. So that's the backdrop of the day, and hopefully the slide is moving along with you. Pretty basic agenda. I'll go through goals for the session. I'm going to talk to you about marketing trends and how the world's changing. I'm not going to get into U.S. politics or decision-making on what's going on in pipelines going between our countries. I'm going to stay away from that stuff. I will be focusing around how to kind of have some tool sets to make smart business decisions, talk about how you can have a process for change, and then I'll do a little bit of reinforcement as we go through as well, making sure you've got good information. I plan to speak for about 45 minutes today, and then we're going to leave a good 10 to 15 minutes for questions, so please do send those questions in through to Jenny and Harry and myself, so I can answer questions for you at the back end of the session. So the goals, I like to have these as I work with my teams or I work with customers or with channel partners, is really today, hopefully at the end of the session you'll say I'll help you have some tools to kind of understand the options of business communication technologies that you can make decisions on today. Try to remove some of the complexity. I'm going to try to use very little acronyms in the discussions today, and as well provide some simple tool sets for you to use later on as you go down your journey of making decisions on communications technology that benefits the employees inside your organizations or benefits customers, most importantly, that you work with and support with. We're going to provide you a tool set, so at the end you'll have a hyperlink where you'll be able to get access to the majority of the information here, but in greater granular detail you'll have a buyer's guide that'll help you regardless of who the manufacturer is of technology, and really it doesn't have to be just inside of our space. It's a tool set that you can use as a framework for doing some pre-work before you engage with partners or manufacturers to make decisions on next step technology. First, though, I wanted to really kind of state the obvious. People have the perception at times that manufacturers can come on here and try to be, experts at all things. You guys are experts at running your businesses and running your organization. So as I look at kind of Captain Obvious here, the bullet points that I wanted to reinforce that I know and I'm aware of, because I deal with SMB, CIOs, owners of businesses, finance organizations on a weekly basis, is that SMB doesn't mean small problems or small opportunities. You have challenges and opportunities that are presented to you daily inside your organization, and you need the right tools, you need the right resources, you need to have the right people in place, because those on a daily basis have a large impact on your business, not only inside of the quarter, but inside the direction of your organization. One of the larger challenges that you face is finding enough time in your day, week, month. It's one of the most critical challenges that you face as an SMB owner or as an employee of the business. The goal for all SMBs, I believe, as I've talked to them, is pretty simple. You want to grow. Everything else in life is variable, but growth is absolutely required. Where you invest, how you invest, and where you spend your time, those are all variables you'll make business decisions on based on the competition you're facing, based on the market segments you're in, and based on where you are as a business in your evolution. But definitely you want to have individuals inside of your employee base that want to personally and professionally grow. You want revenue to either grow or you want to improve the bottom line margin. And while you grow, you want to stay focused. The really good people that we work with, stay focused on being the best in the planet on customer service. Really the differentiation that we find SMB customers can now provide to their customers is differentiating based on customer service. A lot of the technologies that I'm going to talk to you about today as data points are common technologies across other manufacturers. It's who do you partner with that really can give you the tool sets that enable you today and as you move forward to take care of those customers that you work with, to steal customers from competition, and to make sure that they constantly reference you as the best partner that they've ever worked with. And maybe once in a while you want to take a real vacation and not the kind of workation that many of us take these days with the smartphone attached to your hips. If you can do the right things, have the right tool sets, and make smart decisions, and have good partnerships in place, you can maybe take a little bit of time off and enjoy what you're doing. So first I'm going to lay the groundwork of really some market trends. I've got some data points up in here, and I'm not going to read every slide to you. You guys can look at that information and go through. And again, this slide will be available to you later on as well. But if you look at some of the trends that overall are happening inside of our globe that impact our business, the basic one, nearly 1 in 4 people in the world now use social networks. And if you think about from a global standpoint, that used to be a 1-to-8 ratio 2 years ago. It used to be a 1-to-16 to 1-to-20 ratio a year before that. The escalation of use of social networks is continuing to proliferate and grow as we go forward. So what does that mean to you, the SMB business owner, the IT professional, the finance prime inside the organization, is that there's a communications landscape that's under a significant change in what I would like to refer to a lot of the time is the consumerization. Many times in the past, and probably those on the phone are old enough, in my demographic at least, that you would go to the workplace to get really cool technology and really cool tools, and you'd take them home and show your first laptop to people back at home. You'd show your first smartphone or cell phone, the little Nokia ones many of us used to have here in North America, and bring that home. Where now that's changed. The paradigm has changed for you as an SMB IT professional, where the technology is coming from outside of the business and it's coming into the business. And you've got to manage that communication landscape and change. It's an enabler now inside of your business. It's not a, I need it because I just need to have the phone ring, in my example, or I just need to have email. You need to have an outcome that's derived from the technology investment that you're making. If I pick a few of these, if you can read through them yourselves, but if I pick a few of these, if I look at really the spending growth for mobile world, it's quite large for all sizes and all ages of businesses. IT and telecom budgets are increasingly focused around the smartphones and associated applications in effort to deliver a kind of flexible work experience to employees. I know myself. I took a red eye home from Arizona last night to make sure I could spend some time with you today. I knew exactly where my smartphone was the entire time through my shift. It was my alarm clock. It was my tool set to communicate back personally with my 2 children. It was the device that was the most important thing that was on me besides my passport while I was traveling, because I needed to communicate with my personal life, I needed my professional life to keep going, and I needed to be able to do work while I was managing the multiple time zones that I work in. If you look at the concept of reimaging of work, that's the idea of the business isn't any longer the 4 walls that you have a facility around. Your employees are mobile. And the concept and the landscape today of small and new business often looks nothing like the organizations of previous generations. You'll have salespeople that may not physically come into your corporate office but a few times a year. You may have contractors that you work with that you want tied to your organization for periods of time, but they physically don't come inside the walls of your organizations. You want to expose them to tool sets and technology that bring them in for that portion of time that they provide value to you, or that they're executing on something for you, but you're definitely not working on bringing them in fully, and you're not excluding them from the work experience, because you want to get positive outcomes from all of your employees. And it's regardless of where the employee is, they're working, and the expectations from your customers is that you're providing that work level, that work experience, so you can take care of their needs when they want to take care of escalating those needs to you. The other one that is very different, and we see it quite a bit in our industry, is the way that business-to-business communications or tool sets are acquired now. The buyers are extremely intelligent. I know many of you, if you put the time, energy, and effort in, could tell me about my Mitel technology, about my Mitel product. The amount of information is available through social media, through LinkedIn tool sets, through doing your own research through web pages, has never been stronger than it is today. We expose that information. So the buyers are so much smarter today. The vendors and the education we do with vendors is don't kind of try to sell people anything any longer, because they're probably smarter on the technology areas and the competition if they've done their research. So you need to make sure you help navigate them through what are the business goals you're trying to achieve, to make sure that you're matching up those business goals with positive outcomes with technology. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But again, the landscape is changing. We're all facing it. And inside of our worlds, we need to stay flexible. We need to stay nimble and make sure that we're listening to our customers, listening to those employees that we support, and making business decisions around technology that benefit all those constituents. The customer themselves has changed. I've talked about them being smarter, being able to get access to do research on you. Many of the research analysts we work with, about 57% of the buyer's decision making is made before they actually sit down and talk to a sales professional from your business or from my business. They've done the research, they've become formulated on what they believe are the right things. Now they want to go evaluate and validate what their research was and to see if you're the right partner to work with them to go forward on the remaining 44% of their buyer's journey as they get through it. That zero moment of truth concept is really in place today, and that ever-changing customer challenges all of us to make sure we're better equipped with the right tool sets and with the right thought process in place to take advantage of working with those customers and helping and supporting of them as they go forward. The ever-changing engagement model is there as well. So if you look at it, web self-service expectation is up to 76% in 2014. We expect that to grow. We look at that from our contact center business standpoint. The expectation that people have today is if they are on mass transit in New York City and they get a text message from someone saying, hey, I want to go to this concert, you want to come with me, they will get the link in that text message of where they can go acquire those tickets, and the expectation if you're getting those type of services that they're going to go right from that smartphone interaction and get to you without having to have a human interaction. It's noisy around them. They don't have to wait until they get back to their office to make a phone call. They don't want to wait to get back home to make a phone call. They want to do that interaction in real time, and that concept of independence and the web self-service continues to increase. 74% of consumers use 3 or more channels for customer interactions. We see it today with customers that have contact centers. They interact with us in a multimedia mode They are escalating from a web research to wanting to ask some questions without talking to a human being yet, to then needing to get information put into us for a transaction, and then maybe confirmation is done in a voice mode, and that needs to be seamless for them, and it needs to be something that evolves and is simple and easy versus the competitors that can provide similar services. People are a now generation mindset, and they will make those decisions where they want to make them to buy technology or buy solutions from you. You have to make sure you're ready and you're supporting them with the right tool sets on your side. So what's driving this change? If we look at the basic fundamental of really what drives this change through organization, well, we've got the transitioning from a TDM, PBX to IP-PBX world in our part of the business area, and then moving that into a cloud format. We've got the decoupling of software from proprietary hardware infrastructure. So you used to buy a physical black box from me, and I would come and install it on your site location. Today, I've decoupled that through the power of virtualization in VMware, and I've taken that software and make it an independent decision. If you want to change your service out, you don't necessarily need to do that. If you've built out a virtualization infrastructure, you can drop voice, which is still a very mission-critical application, into that environment. The proliferation of mobility I've talked to several times. The growth and the concept of private and public cloud are there, and hybrid cloud, I'm going to talk to that in a second as well. Commoditization I've talked to about, that the expectation of the new employees coming into you, and that's not just an age thing. You know, my mother, who's 72, is more active on Facebook than I am. She is utilizing social tool sets to stay in touch with her family that's around the globe. You'll have people that are coming in the workforce at 40, 50, and sometimes still at 60 inside the workforce that are expecting those tool sets to be there, and they can take advantage of them from a business standpoint. Your challenge is to make sure, how do you put them in place, keep them secure, and make sure they're benefiting customers when you do those things. Emergence of multi-channel customer experience we've talked to, and none of this happens without you as an IT professional or business owner being extremely confident that it's a secure environment that you're creating. You're not exposing your business to more problems or more challenges. Security is paramount, and setting up these environments in a secure form factor is absolutely required as you move forward. Hopefully some of that's been helpful for you on trends that we're seeing in the industry, how it's moving forward, how customers are interacting with us, the research that's being done, and mobility being prevalent, the concept of customer interaction being on their choice of how they want to interact with you, and you needing to react to that, and making sure that all of that stays secure is important. So you've got the baseline on some of those key trends, and again, I'm going to really encourage you to download the Buyer's Guide later. They'll have a lot more detail. You can go through at a slower pace than I'm walking you through today. So do that research and help you out. But where we're going to segue now to is maybe giving you some tool sets on how to make the decisions and how you would go about kind of talking your organization through why you're going to do a change in technology or why you need to add something for your customers. The key thing in doing that is asking yourself, and it's basic stuff here, guys, what capabilities does my business need and why? And that why is truly important, and always keeping your customer in the center of that discussion. Your customer is evolving, your customer is changing, you need to evolve and translate your customer. I'm not saying that all of your customers are evolving and all of them are changing on you. I'm not giving you painting that picture, but there's a large majority of your customer base that is migrating and doing things differently than they've done before. You want to be on the front end of that, not on the back end. So the first question you ask yourself, I restate it again, what capabilities does my business need and why? So some simple questions that I would kind of have you think about as you're going through here, and these are for you as a business. Does work have to be in the office anymore, or can it be at home? As an example for myself today, I'm actually talking to you from my home office as a teleworker, which is about 30 miles outside of our corporate headquarters. I'm able to conduct business exactly the same way I've done before. I've had 5 or 6 conference calls today. Nobody has known the difference of where I am, where I'm operating, and where I'm working, and I'm as effective as physically being in the office. The customers that work with me that called me today, I didn't explain to them physically where I was able to conduct business. So that concept that I really encourage you to be open to is that in the office doesn't need to physically be inside my four walls. You can reduce your cost by having people work from home at times. You can have a better work-life harmonization or balance for retaining employees to make sure you've got some critical employees that maybe are going on a maternity leave. They've got to take care of family members, and you want them to do a critical thing for you for 4 to 5 hours a day for a 6-month period of time. You're able to enable them to do that, have them the lifestyle that they need if they're a valuable employee for you, and equally, you'd have the confidence that it's secure, strong communications, and your customers that they're supporting are being taken care of professionally. The other question is, what ratio of time do my sales team, are they on the road or at their desk? I know I manage a team. I've got about 20 sales professionals that work underneath myself. I want them spending time with their customers. I don't want them spending time doing clerical work at their desk. That's not valuable to me. So I need to enable them to always have the right tool sets, to be in front of their customers, to respond to me when I need them to respond to me, for them to be able to get access to other professionals inside of our business so they can take care of their customers, and really thinking through how do you give the tool sets to create the right mix of 70% of the time I want my sales and marketing professionals out in the market, 30% of the time I want them back in the office. That 30% of the time in the back of their office, do they need a physical phone for themselves all the time, or can they share it through hot desking technologies, allowing them to log into it? Will they use their mobile device 80% of their time? So maybe I just need to give them conference room type environments so they can do conference calls when they're coming back in the office. Those are the decisions that I encourage you to think through and ask those questions to you. How important is it for every caller to be answered by a person versus an automated system? That's a religious experience sometimes for organizations and people. The owners of businesses, we will always live answer phone calls. That's within your right to do, but if a customer decides to call you after hours, how will you triage that call? Saying to them, I'm not available to take your call during the hours you want to conduct business with me, I don't think becomes a viable option much longer. So maybe during the day, you're going to have live answer. Maybe at lunchtime, you're going to use a tool set when the person's out, or if you're a multi-site environment, you can flip that between locations. But thinking through live caller, non-live caller, using an automated system is important. When a customer calls and the first thing they want is out of the office, do I want them to go to voicemail, or do I want to go to them automatically and route that call to them? We know already today the least common use of technology that we as human beings want to interact on is voicemail. Nobody likes the concept of voicemail back and forth, leaving a voicemail, calling somebody back. They want that presence and availability, and if they can't have that presence and availability, that call getting routed out automatically to people's mobile devices, their secondary devices, so they can answer that customer call and that first call resolution is a fundamental important thing. You need to ask yourself how important that is to your customers and the employees taking care of those customers. And how important is it for you, the caller, to reach a person and not a machine, to reach someone quickly? We've talked about that a little bit. Once you have the answers to these questions, we're able to start making decisions around the right features. And that's a fundamental challenge you will get from vendors who will come in and talk to you about our area of technology or other areas of technology. They want to talk about their stuff and their features and their functions and their language. You need to force them to come in and talk to you and consult with you about your business needs, your business requirements for the next 3 to 5 years. What fundamentally are you struggling with right now to cause revenue growth inside your organization? How could a business tool set help you? Or if it can't help you, then you've got the right expectations of what you're acquiring and putting inside of your organization. And again, I restate it for importance. Keep your customers at the center of that decision making. By putting remote teleworkers in place, how does that impact my customers? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it negligible? Okay, then I'm going to have a higher value on stuff that positively impacts my customer and a lower value on a scoring of things that don't impact my customer. So really stay focused on that as you move through that. The feature chart, I look at this. One of my pet peeves that I force my teams to do, and I would encourage you guys to do, when you see a chart like this or you see a vendor come in and start talking about all of the different features and functions, make them use your language. So if you're an education facility, make them talk about how your teachers are going to communicate. If you're a manufacturing facility, talk about how you're going to communicate with the shop floor and what are the tool sets that's going to help you communicate with the shop floor. If you're an overseas organization, how are you going to connect multiple office locations together and give that single user experience as you do that. So that's the first thing of forcing them to do and not being too techy. But what you'll want to verify is in the offerings that you're doing research on, what are those things that have become standard offers, most traditional features like call hold, the call forward, and do not disturb. Those are all basic standard features that are in place. What you will want to do research on is what are the self-service or inbound callers type tool sets. How do you get automatic call distribution, which is contact center? And that doesn't mean you need to have 50 people answering the phone every day of the week. That could be an informal hunt group of 3 or 4 people, but you want statistics and reporting information, and you want to route based on the caller ID coming inside of your business to the right sales professional, the right customer service representative that comes in. That doesn't need to be overly expensive, but you want to define that up front of the type of outcomes you're looking for, and then matching these features and functions and technology to doing that. Mobile twinning, you'll see that on here, extremely important. I cannot conduct my business without my smartphone ringing simultaneously when people call my desk phone. I don't give out my cell phone. I give out my DID at the office, or I give out our switchboard number, and it simultaneously rings to me. I can answer, I can do business, I can communicate, and that's very effective for the people trying to get a hold of me, and effective for me, so I don't have a buildup of calls that are coming in on the back end. Conferencing technology, and making sure that the business needs to organize regular meetings without having the cost of traveling, making sure that the solution that you're going to put in place can easily add conferencing capability that's going to meet your requirements for internal conferences, external conferences, or at the times where you need to burst them, do they have the ability to give you application bursting that allows you to host a conference call once a quarter where you need to have 50 people on the call and you're only a 25 user business, but you're bringing in your customers for a call. Technology and tool sets enable that bursting from that standpoint. The other piece is making decisions around the physical devices that you're going to deploy on the site location. A lot of change in this space, a lot of research. I know we as a manufacturer do a lot of research on the human design interface that's there to make sure it's a common tool set, make sure it's a very limited amount of training and education you need. It's an intuitive device that you've got. I feel we've got a little bit of a head start doing it for 40 years, so we've been able to get intelligent around the technologies move forward. But you need to really start thinking about where do you want phones to be located and what amount of money and value do you want to associate with a lobby phone versus an executive phone. And how, when you put those phones in place, how are your employees going to use those phones? Are they going to use predominantly their smartphone? So therefore, they're just going to use their device when they're at their desk as a conference phone because they want to do a multi-party conference call, and the speakerphone would be better on a desk phone than it is on the smartphone device. You really need to think through those use cases for how employees are going to use their phones as primary tools of doing their jobs. They want to make sure as employees they're advanced, they're feature-rich, and that they work extremely well for them. But you don't want 15 device types inside your organization that you need to manage that are difficult from a security standpoint to keep safe, and that from an upgrade standpoint, if you make a decision to move away from a call control technology, that you've always got to rip out your phones. You can put in SIP endpoint devices, you can put in third-party devices to make sure you've got the right outcomes when you're looking at devices. The way we look at it is you can start thinking of the concept of executive or power users. You can look at large areas for multiple buildings. You can look at lone workers. There's a lot of different options that you can deploy, and really evaluating what the users are doing, how it's going to affect their customers, allows you to make decisions on what physical type of devices that you put in place. We have some customers that have moved with us that 80% of the devices they put in place are their smartphones. They're not Mitel phones, but we enable those smartphones to be part of the call control stack. They have all the features and functions they would have a desk phone they've got on that smartphone device. And then the 20% is for conference room areas. It's for people that are administrative in their offices. We've had a large amount of customers look at that and make those decisions as they go through the process. Important to do. Now I'm going to segue out of features and functions and more on to the models. And this is where I think our industry has done a disservice. You can see in the background here the beautiful white puffy clouds. I would imagine that everybody on the phone call here today has, if I asked them to define for me what cloud is, I would probably get 25 different definitions of what cloud is and what it means. My basic on cloud. Cloud is what it means to you in your business and how you want to deploy technology and put it in place. It can mean something different for a manufacturer. It can be something different for a service provider. In this context, what I'd ask you to think through is if I want to deploy the technology, what are the positives for me as a business owner or business decision maker? What are the pros for me deploying in a cloud format, which means I'm using an example of a public cloud format where there would be a third-party data center, which we have. Our technology is residing in that third-party data center, and we provide you those services across the network to your environment at your office locations. You'll have physical phones on those, in those devices or on those locations, but the call control is off location. You can see in that there's the benefit of flexibility and scalability. You can quickly scale up the amount of users a physical phone can get shipped out. If you're a bursting business, you're a fireworks manufacturer, and in the summer months you want to burst and add 10 more phones, you add 10 more phones for a 3 or 4 month period of time, and then you drop it back down. You need to add call center services as part of this for a 2 month period of time. You can add contact center services as part of that, or call center services, and that's a real pro. You can look from a financial standpoint. Do you want to lease? Do you want to rent? Do you view this technology piece inside of your business as something that you don't want to spend your CapEx dollars on, that you want to do it as a utility service? Those are all options you work from a cloud standpoint. Obviously, some of the cons is you don't have the day-to-day control where you can walk down to the old closet or the room and look at the humming switch on the wall and see that it's running and operating, the red lights are blinking. There is that piece where you have to relinquish some of that control. Your users will be able to administer the devices a little bit more effectively because intuitive TUIs are provided as part of cloud offerings. We would manage those services for you, or our partners of ours would manage the turning up of services, turning them down. So those are things you can look at. You have to get over the fact that you can't physically inspect the links, the switches, and the ports. I will tell you, and you'll see later, we've seen a huge proliferation and growth in SMB of cloud solutions because people like the positives versus some of the potential emotional impacts on the negative side. When we look at on-site equipment, pretty basically put, it's the technology that goes inside of the server room. It goes inside your physical location. It can be 1 location, 2 locations, 20 locations across the globe. You've got complete asset control over that. You acquire and purchase it. It's fully controlled. You can self-manage, so you can get trained and certified and maintain and manage it that way. You can do your cost-benefit analysis. Is it better for you to manage and do that type of work versus having a partner do that? You have a cycle in the amount of years that you can count down. You can depreciate that asset typically over a 5 to 7 year period of time. You've got very good flexibility with open operating systems to upgrade and add solutions to it so that you don't feel locked in. The cons of this is typically in a premise-based world, you can do leasing, but for the most part, you're going to be using valuable CapEx as an SMB customer. You're going to be using those CapEx dollars versus investing in staff, investing in more marketing, investing dollars in going to a secondary location. You're going to be using some of your CapEx dollars to purchase technology and purchase equipment. You will have downtime for upgrades because you'll have to, at different times of the day, take the service down to be managed. And you will need some in-house skills to manage that. And that becomes, again, a philosophical decision that IT organizations, do I want my team worrying about a call control utility piece, or do I want them building value-added applications that integrate into my ERP system, or integrate into my Salesforce deployment, or integrate into my supply chain? Is that where I want my IT resources spending time? Because it's high value to you, high value to customers. The best of both worlds is, and we do this quite a bit, is that you can have a hybrid option. You can have on-site as well as cloud. You can maintain control of things that you want to maintain control of, and you can outsource certain things from an IT skill standpoint, a contact center, a call recording capabilities that you don't really have the internal skills on. You can outsource that to a third-party company to manage, and they bring it all together with that hybrid model. It allows you to migrate at your own pace in that hybrid model. We see this quite often with customers that have multiple site locations that they can't flash cut overnight, so they may do corporate headquarters first, and then over a 3 to 6 to 9 to 12 month cycle, They will take those premise-based and then start migrating them to cloud and go through that hybrid transformation. But as they're going through that transformation, they still can communicate together and work together as they go through it. The process map that we've got here, which is next, which I find is a very helpful tool, I even use it in my kind of business decision making, is the first thing you need to do, I've given you background now on the technology areas, talk about the trends that you're going to be seeing and facing, and you're probably already seeing and facing inside of your business today, and some of you are probably dealing with quite well, and some may be struggling. You're seeing what's going on from a technology standpoint and what's available to you and how you can deploy it. Now, once you've done that, you need to have a kind of a process for doing things differently than maybe you've done before in a technology acquisition. The first thing you need to do is determine your needs. Define what you really need, the features, the size, both now and for the future. Don't make a decision now if you are planning to get an acquisition of competitors and you haven't sized it appropriately for the next couple of years out, or that your employee burst isn't taken care of. Make sure you review your current platform and audit your environment to understand your cost, so that when you have a vendor or supplier coming in and talk to you, you're very well educated on your cost, how that's in place today. Get feedback from the users of all types. That's customers, partners, third-party vendors come in, of what they have today that works extremely well for them and what they want to have as added value or tool sets they're missing out, and work to meld that together as you're talking to the vendor. Finalize your wish list and prioritize that wish list. Make sure you prepare and set your budget. We would all love to have 5,000 square foot homes with art all over the walls, but you have to have a budget in what you do when you're running a business, when you're operating on someone else's behalf. So set that budget, stay firm on what you're going to be able to spend, and make sure you're assigning value for what you want to spend more dollars on versus other utility-based things that you're not willing to increment and spend more dollars on. Decide, do I want to lease or do I want to buy this? And then identify your deployment model of choice. Do I want to go hybrid? Do I want to go to a pure cloud approach? Do I want to go prem, but know the vendor I'm working with gives me the ability year, 2 years, 3 years down the road that I could go cloud? Make sure you've got your go-to-market in good shape. Use your wish list to identify your platform of choice and a list of vendors. Make sure you take stock and ensure you have what you've paid for at the end, that you really have a good statement of work through the partnership, that you're getting the business outcomes, measuring those key performance indicators that you built the business case on, that you're actually getting those outcomes, and reviewing that on a 30, 60, 90, 180-day basis to make sure you're getting the outcomes. And always, 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 when you're going through this map exercise, think about how this is going to impact your customer and make sure you focus on what your needs are moving forward. Don't look in the rearview mirror of how you've done things before and how the system worked before. Define the outcomes you're looking for and make sure you have the technology in place to take care of that. The last couple of slides I've got is, the positioning on Mitel and who we are as an organization. So as I talked about it, we're a $1.2 billion business. We're over 40-plus years old. We've got 60 million end users that utilize our technology. We're powering over 2 billion mobile subscribers every day through our technology. I'm not, building mobile devices, but I'm enabling those mobile devices. We've made strategic acquisitions in excess of $1 billion in capital we've invested over the last 24 months to round out our portfolio around contact center, around mobility, and to make sure that we've got the best cloud offering in the planet. Because of that, we've actually been the fastest growing cloud unified communications provider globally. We've got more than 1.6 million cloud seats installed today, working and viable, and that's ramping up on a quarterly basis. How we do it is that we are, an example of a vendor that you're going to want to have a conversation with. We can give you a piece of call control that's very strong, reliable call control, secure. You can put that on-premise, and that includes our voice capabilities, contact center capabilities, collaboration capabilities you see here, or you can put in cloud, in a cloud form factor, or you can do a mixture of all things inside of that. We make sure the infrastructure can be private, it can be hybrid, it can be public. You can build a private cloud inside of your environment. We do that for many customers. That you integrate with software such as Lync, Microsoft Dynamics, Office, VMware, Sugar, Google Apps. The vendor you want to work with, like ourselves, needs to have integrations into multiple unified communications pieces, not just voice elements. and not just the voice elements that we manufacture. You want to make sure the partnerships you're engaging with, that they work across the spectrum on business value tools that will help you cause differentiation with your customer base and your employee base. And then finally, making sure you have the right devices, and I talked about it earlier. It can be my physical IP phones. It can be some of my SIP desk lineup. I've got a Microsoft Link device that works well with it. It could be a DECT wireless, or it could be third-party mobile devices or conference units or video conferencing you want to bring in that integrates into our full stack. And that's how we operate today. That brings us right to the end of our session. On the formal presentation side, I know you're probably sick of hearing my voice here as a Canadian over the 40 minutes. I'd encourage you to make sure you download the full buyer's guide. You see it here at discover.mytel.com/mybuyersguide.html. Go to that web link, get that information. We'll make sure that we push this information out to you as well. We've got a couple of videos that demonstrate what we're talking about and decision-making that customers have gone through, and they talk about those decision-making. And we'll give you some information on some of our technology as well to see if that makes sense for you as you're doing your evaluation and you go forward. So with that, I think Carrie and Jenny, I'll turn it back to yourself to see if we've got some questions.
Okay. All right. Well, I certainly have a couple questions. Jeff, one observation is one of the early slides you had talked about the percentage of customers, what percentage they've already made their decision before they reach out to you, the channel partner or the vendor. You had it pegged around 50%. That's actually a very popular conversation, and like any hot conversation, I've seen numbers range from 80% down to 2/3. But you're spot on. Again, I've seen the number higher. I guess that's what I'm really saying. Is I'm not quite sure about 80%, but I felt pretty comfortable with that 2/3%. And I'm the same way with a one-click world. I'm kind of doing my own research and picking what I need. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it is a phenomenon.
So what I would say, so what I'd say, and what's important about that, if you're an SMB provider today that you're selling services to a customer, you shouldn't be fearful of somebody doing that. I think that's encouraging. If you are showing up at that zero moment of truth, as Google kind of coins it, where the user is deciding they have a need and they go do their research and they search for the best air conditioners in North America, you just got to make sure that you're applying your spend and your resources from a marketing standpoint so you're showing up in that place. You want to make sure you're linked into a social media tool set such as LinkedIn to make sure when people are going to do research amongst their peers in that early 50, 60, 70% of their decision making that they do on their own in technology or whatever they're buying, that you're referenceable, that people are positive about the customer experience that you've created for them. So we did a big amount of research around this, Harry, 2+ years ago, and every Mitel employee from a sales standpoint, actually our go-to-market sales strategy is mapped to the buyer's action and the buyer's journey. It's not mapped to what we are going to do in a sales process. It's mapped to the identification, the definition, the evaluation that a customer does, the validation that the customer does, and then finally making sure that the decision they make is backed up with proof points and valuable information.
Yeah, no, that's right. I two things. I see it as a positive, but I also see it as what it is. And in business we have to adjust, and we are. Next question is on the slide, the infographic you had about your acquisitions. And please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm really shooting from the hip on this one. Did you guys acquire Astra? I thought Astra folded into Mitel, but I could very well be wrong.
No, absolutely. So Astra was one of the larger acquisitions we did. Would have been now 2+ years ago. That's what's really bolstered our global reach. They were equal in size of us in the European marketplace. They've added some great technology assets around cloud, around the desktop portfolio. We actually now combined sit more IPM points than any other manufacturer on a quarterly basis globally. We ship more DECT endpoints than anybody else globally as a manufacturer. So with the combination of Astra, we've come together and inherited some very good assets, some great people, and we've kept those technologies in place we haven't MD'd portfolios. We've kept them going to support customers.
Yeah, because what I want to do is give a shout out to you that Astra had a stellar reputation in our community in sort of the '06 through maybe '09 timeframe with Microsoft Response Point. You know, it's a rock solid product. It's a rock solid group of guys. So congratulations on that point.
Thank you.
And then my next question is, maybe we could go a layer deeper. Part of our audience, most of our audience is excited about Office 365. I think you need a bona fide, full-on business communication solution to supplement Office 365. I have strong opinions about that and experience, and so that's in your favor. But why don't you talk more about maybe some of the integrations you have and how you play nice with Office 365?
Yeah, so ultimately what we do is we natively integrate into the Microsoft stack, into the Link stack, and into the 365, such that if you want to use presence and availability engine that 365 provides, but you want to use answering points from us, conferencing capability from us, and you've got some maybe specific vertical applications you want to do in manufacturing, in retail, that maybe you won't get from a Microsoft play because they're very good at horizontal but not as good on the vertical side. That's where we see that kind of co-opetition working in place today. What has been confusing to some, and when we've talked to customers about this in the cloud area, is the ability to have truly redundant cloud deployment to make sure that the security is in place and that the feature advancement and tool sets are being provided in that cloud form factor aren't secondary, that you don't do things on premise first or on desktop first, that you're getting that application development work done in parallel from a cloud standpoint. We as Mitel are able to do that because we have a single piece of software stream that can work in a cloud form factor or in a premise form factor. So it allows us to do very good application development from that. So that's kind of the commentary I'd have around Microsoft here.
Okay, and then the final question that I have is surrounding, maybe you could hit on one of your later slides about strategic growth and acquisitions. I might have missed part of that because I'm a believer that with the pivot to cloud and the disruptive changes going on, organic growth was great. I loved it. I came out of the garage, but boy howdy, it's time to be strategic. Any thoughts? That's a couple slides back.
Yeah, so from an acquisition standpoint, we make acquisitions for three reasons. So when we focus in on them, and we review acquisitions as if it's a sales funnel. That's the belief system of Rich McBee, our CEO. We manage an active funnel of potential candidates that we want to go research, people that are already researching, and people that we're getting close to the goal line on. But the three areas that we do are what I would say large land buys or combining two equals together, and Astra is a perfect example of that. We've got call control that got put in together. We're able to put our application stack on theirs, where it makes sense some of their application stack on ours. Big customer base, big geography play, we're able to do that. The other areas we do are strategic investments into growth areas. Mobility, so the acquisition we made of Mavenir just recently. Mavenir is now Mitel's mobile division. Mavenir is a software provider, a global software provider, one of the leaders in it that actually takes 3G and converts it into 4G LTE networks. So with mobile carriers around the globe, but 75% of the mobile carriers around the road utilize now Mitel mobility inside of their environment, such that when the Apple smartphones come out and you've got Wi-Fi enabled and you're getting into 4G world, it's Mitel powering that. So that's a really strategic pillar of growth for us, and that type of acquisition we do is us looking ahead in the industry. And now we are combining, and we've done this recently at our analyst events, and you'll see more. You come through our website and the information around our portfolio of applications we're building is combining that mobile experience natively with a native dialer experience versus a SIP client download or something you have to do on the device. Now that we're in the mobile carrier world, we can talk between our IP protocol is the same as the 4G protocol. Those can communicate together. So we'll be delivering applications that allow for people to have strong mobile devices without having to buy special applications right on top of them or to do over-the-top things. The third area we do acquisitions, Harry, is really around to give us some scope inside of verticals or inside a specific area. So we acquired Oasis for call recording to add to our business communication stack as well to our call center. But another acquisition that we made was in the verticals was we bought Tiger TMS back in June. Tiger TMS is an application developer specifically focused in the hospitality space. They do extremely great work for property management system integration. They have applications around hospitality management of mobile devices that are coming in either on the employee worker level or if they're coming in from a guest level. So we added scale of our capabilities to our call controller by building and buying an application development company. So those are the type of acquisitions, and we're always curious in the market, and we're going to continue to make smart acquisitions as part of the strategy of the company going forward, not to replace the research and development we do, which is hundreds of millions of dollars a year, but to augment it and get scale quickly to get into certain new market areas or to just put steroids on some vertical segments for us.
There you go. Well, I think that clears the deck on the questions. So, Jeff, thanks for stopping by to join us. Folks, back to the salt mine. Don't forget tomorrow's award. In the U.S. coming up a big holiday week, so we need every workday this week. And we'll look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. But thanks to Jeff and Mitel. Really appreciate you stopping by and having a chat with our community. And
Thank
with
you very
that
much,
said,
Jerry.
you bet. Well, with that said, folks, have a great day.